tell me this doesn't sound familiar.
As black men age, their desirability increases.
What's going on, good people? We are back. I'd like to welcome you to the classroom. It's George Hines Jr. And today we have a clip that, it's going crazy. And I think what I'm learning is that depending on who says it, it's received a little differently. Because I promise y'all, what you're about to hear, you've heard it before. You just may not have liked the messenger. Class in session. So today we got a clip from Eboni K Williams. If y'all remember her, she had another clip that went super viral a few months back, where she was talking about she wouldn't date a trash man unless he owned the company. Well, today she's speaking to a little bit of a different tune. Let's get into this thing.
The reality that needs to be said out loud is that as black men age, their desirability increases. Thus, their optionality of women is always expanding. And the exact opposite is true for black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades, the reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year.
Now, I ain't saying it's funny because it ain't funny. I got two daughters who will grow up to be black women. And every day I'm praying, God, show me how to raise these young women. I know what I have in mind, but I also understand the reality of the times that I live in. And at the rate things are going, it's only going to be a little bit worse for them. And it's not that we have a scarcity mindset. Some people say, "Oh, scarcity mindset." I'm like, no. That ain't it. Like, statistics matter. Like, they matter. It matters. Yes, those of us who love God, the word is true. I've been young and I've been old, says King David, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken. But marriage is not something that God promises to any one of us, because there has to be some agreement on our parts. So let's keep listening, because this thing gets thicker.
No matter how good we look, no matter how fit we are, men are still seeing primarily our presumed dwindling fertility as a knock against us. And speaking of fertility, that is another reason that I want younger black women to seek marriage and partnership in college or right after, if that's what they choose.
Boom. Like, listen, everybody. As much as y'all may hate red pill content, and I do think that red pill content comes from a bitter place. I really do. I do think there is some venom behind it. But if you have the ability to siphon out the poison, you end up with some fact-telling, truthful, real-world practicality that is useful for the people who are willing to listen. This woman is extremely accomplished. Well, now, I don't know if she's ever been married or not, but I know that at this stage in her life, she's making a clarion call to young black women. Because some years ago, I said, marriage will be a foregone conclusion 2 generations from now, meaning that nobody's going to even consider it. I think that millennials, I sincerely believe that we're the last generation that sees marriage as utility for community and society. Like, we saw our parents, we've heard the horror stories of some of our grandparents, with granddaddy having a family right across the street, and I think the generation before us seeing that has put us in a space, especially the young black women, in a space of hyper independence where feminism rules all and nothing else matters. It's like if you want to build wealth, one of the pillars to wealth building is marriage, is not having a child before you finish high school. At this stage, I would argue college. And then you marry. And if the black community, if we're not getting married, because statistically black men marry out more than any other race, but that statistic is a little misleading because it sounds like most black men are marrying outside our race. That's not true. I think black men still marry black women to the tune of 84-85%. That just shows you how loyal other races and cultures are to their own people. So for the most part, black women, if you're going to get married, it's going to be to a black man. But there are going to be some challenges that you must know about. And I don't even know if the challenges that you're going to face are things that you can alter to a degree that it's going to mean anything to you. But I do believe that you should do everything that you can to position yourself for what you want. Now, I do believe that. Let's keep going.
Because the number of college-educated black men is so low when compared to black college-educated women that we're all going to be targeting the same small pool of men.
Boy, I don't know if she wrote this little piece herself. I don't know what it is. But there's a book here that I'm going to read just a couple of pages. The book is called Is Marriage for White People? There is a specific chapter in this book called The Man Shortage. And in that chapter, there is a segment called man sharing. And if you don't believe me, look, I mean, it's right here. Man sharing. And I have some stuff highlighted right underneath. Check this out. Although people of all races engage in concurrent sexual relationships, the evidence suggests that such relationships are more common among African Americans than other groups. Simply put, more than any other culture or race of people, black women are sharing men at a higher rate than any other community or culture. Now, I see two problems. I see women who are desperate to a point where they say, hey, I'll share. And I see men who are taking advantage of a statistic that I can see why he would do it. But I also need that brother to step up and be better. So our problem is twofold. It ain't black men. It ain't black women. It's us. I ain't done. The women reported that the problem wasn't meeting men. It was exclusivity. Some of the women said that they hadn't had an exclusive relationship with a black man in over a decade. One woman says that the numbers are in their favor and they take advantage. As she just mentioned, black women are outnumbering black men on college campuses. No doubt about that. And research confirms, back to the book, that man sharing is a reality for many black women. Now, a lot of this data was taken from the 1980s, from the 1990s. I believe this book was published in 2011. But everything that was going on in decades prior to now have only become more multiplied. They're only more prevalent. So if it was a struggle for black women in this stage, it's a greater struggle for black women today. Now, one thing I will say is this. Well, I don't know if this is a good thing to say or not. If you look at statistics on Pornhub, black women are the most sought after women in terms of sexual pursuit, sexuality. Now, I don't know if that's because of what we portray in hip hop culture. I don't know if people just have fantasies of the over sexualization of young black girls and black women. I don't know why we invest so much into that in our community, because you see these amazing black women. They've gone to school and they've got their degrees and they done pledged, AK, they Delta, they done stepped up. All to come back and to be led by Sexy Red and to be shouting and screaming lyrics from Young Miami. It's like, yo, who's leading who? And young men do the same thing for the ones that do go to college. We come out and we still rapping like we gangbangers when we not. We got to quit playing with ourselves. Keep going, Eboni K. Oh, boy. She said on most campuses, there are 7 black women students to 1 black man student. Y'all do the math. And what I realize is this. In college, there were very few guys that had a lot of women. I just so happened to be one of those guys, so I understand those circles. But by the time we got out of college and we became 25 and older, guys like myself kind of phased out. It wasn't about, if you weren't a professional athlete, you no longer mattered. Women's mindsets has shifted from popularity to stability. And here's another statistic from this book. Once a black man earns $100,000, once he reaches the 6-figure mark, he is least likely to be married than any other group of men anywhere, period. He's even more unlikely to decide to get married than a man who earns $75,000. So a black man earning $75,000 a year is more likely to marry than a black man earning $100,000 a year. I don't know what it is about that elusive, illustrious 6-figure income. But once black men reach it, they typically choose to play the field. And as you heard here, at that stage, because we're talking about college, she's talking about college campuses. So imagine from college campus 7 to 1 going into the workforce where a very small percentage of black men are earning $100,000 a year. I imagine that 1 to 7 goes from maybe to 1 to maybe 21. Let's say that 1 out of 3 black men are earning $100,000. So for 1 to 7, so 3 makes 21. You eliminate 2. Now you have 1 black man out of 3 earning $100,000. He's got 21 women to choose from. Like, that's a numbers game. And there's something. Golly, man, we gotta heal. We gotta heal. For the men who didn't have the ability to womanize in college or in the earlier years of their lives, they almost always take their liberties later in life. And the frustrating part about that is they do it and they're frustrated with women. So they ain't even really liking the young women that they're pursuing. There's a vitriol in their hearts toward women. That's why this red pill content has become so popularized. That's why Kevin Samuels became an icon. That's why Fresh and Fit is booming. That's why the manosphere has exploded. Because some of these men who never had women, they have a microphone now. And I might not could get you back then, but I can get you now. And when I get you now, I'm going to treat you how I feel y'all treated me. It's poisonous out here. Because nobody's teaching young boys to be men. We linger in adolescence from 13 to 30. That's 17 years of bull crap. I should have cussed. I should have cussed. That's 17 years of garbage. And we think that we can snap our fingers and be a decent man for the right woman. It's a lie. Ask me how I know. Statistic in this book. Let me see if I can find it. At this time, there were 1 point. Let me go to page 38. All right, it says the result of black women vastly outnumber black men in colleges. She was just speaking about this. Where there are more than 1.4 million black women, but fewer than 900,000 black men. So right off the cuff, that's a gap. That's a deficit of 500,000 men. And this is just college campuses. So when you factor in incarceration rates, when you factor in the lack of education, when you factor in marrying outside of marriage, black women are left with the smallest pool of men to be chosen by than any other culture of women. And there's a lot to be said about this. Yeah, I got to start talking. I'm telling y'all, man, people get mad at me when I say this. And I understand the frustration. Kevin Samuels was a godsend. I ain't saying he was a righteous. They're prophets. If I don't know if you've ever read the book of Numbers in the Bible. There was a prophet Balaam. He wasn't a man of God, but he was used by God. He knew who God was, and he exposed something that altered the course of God's people forever. It's not always the people that we like. It's not always the person who says it the way we want them to say it, does it the way we want them to do it, that changes things. More often than not, somebody has to expose the bad so that we can begin to focus on the good. And I don't care what anybody says. Everything that we're hearing on social media now, these are Kevin Samuels' talking points. And I ain't saying that they came from him exclusively, but I am saying that he popularized them in a way that has made an entire generation of people look at relationships differently, especially in the black community. Keep going, Eboni K.
So here's my advice. If you are a young black woman in college and you know in your heart and in your head that you want to prioritize family, I suggest that you simultaneously pursue that MRS degree right along with that BA or JD. Because the handful of black college-age men that actually do desire to get married soon, and they do share that value system, and family is a priority for them too, y'all, that is an incredibly small pool, and it's shrinking as you get older. And by the time you reach my age, 40, you will be faced with different choices relating to life partnership and motherhood. Now, I'm not saying that delaying marriage or motherhood is a bad option, but it's one that comes with its own consequences. And our women deserve to know on the front end of their decision making instead of on the back half.
What she simply said, ladies, is that if you desire to be married, you need to have a sense of urgency. I know you don't like to hear it. The red pill content creators have been saying to women for at least the last since COVID. I know for certain since COVID. You are more valuable to the relational marketplace the younger you are. The younger you are, the less damaged you are, the more fertile you are, the more malleable you are, the less contentious you are. Now, I'm not saying that a man deserves a woman in that space. I'm not saying that a man is ready. I'm not saying that a man is capable of having or leading you. But what I am saying is that there is something about that is true. If that were not the case, this woman has no reason to say it. She has nothing to gain from this except to see younger generations of women grow. She said herself, at my age, at 40, those options dwindle. Those pools of men, they become so much smaller. And I was young once. I know that y'all want to have your fun and do your thing. And you know, okay, we're human, we live. This is the only life we get. Live a little bit. Don't be ignorant to the facts. You can pull up in any major city right now. Go out to a brunch date. Go out to church. And there are numbers, I mean scores of young women. 10, 15 in a group. All of them beautiful. All of them educated. All of them ready and willing. They're a little jaded probably because they've been in some situations. But that's understandable because I've been a black man in this black dating pool. It can get rough out here. Churches. Amazing young women. Gorgeous, beautiful, brilliant. Single. In church praying that God show them who their husband is. They paranoid. Hallucinating. God told you was my husband. God told me you was my husband. We got to step up, man. We got to step up. Black women are the most, women in general, they drive the marketplace. They're the consumers. And black women especially have been taken advantage of, dare I say pimped. Because everybody understands statistically that black women are the most susceptible to being single and what black women are calling unprotected. This is a problem that we have to figure out how to fix on our own. This is a woman she's sounding the alarm. And like she says, while you pursuing that JD, that PhD, you need to get that Mrs. degree too. Because less than any other culture of people, black women are going to college to be independent. White women typically go to college to find a husband if they didn't marry the high school sweetheart. Black women are going to be independent because I got to take care of myself because grandma and mama told me I can't depend on no man. And that attitude produces a coldness and a separation that when you do find a young man that wants to love you and live right, especially if we're talking about in the Christian space, my God, there is such a level of abrasion. There is such a level of just challenge and frustration and contention that by the time you finally open up to the brother, he's taking so much from you that he's ready to move on. And I don't think that's your fault, ladies. I really don't. But at some point, you have to understand, just like we had to understand, that the problems that we have in our life were not created by us. But it better dang sure be something that we're willing to solve. Because if we're not, we're probably going to die with those problems. And in dying with those problems, we're going to miss out on a whole lot of stuff. And the unfortunate part, young women, and hear this so I can get out of here. The unfortunate part, just as this young woman says, I have the luxury because I'm a man of playing for a longer time and finally getting it together and going out and getting every single thing that I want. You, on the other hand, don't have that luxury. I'm sorry. It's not my choosing. It's biology. Take it up with God. But at the end of the day, if you don't get serious about your life, and if young men, we don't get serious about preserving the life and the sanctity of our women, it is our communities and our daughters and our sons that are going to miss out on the beauty of community. And I'm going to leave y'all with one little treat at the end right here. Class dismissed.
Yeah, 27, time to sell. 30, 50% off. Over 35 on clearance. 40 outlet. 50 Goodwill Salvation Army.